Welcome to Clear Vision Wednesday. I am Claudia Mühlenweg, the founder of the Natural Clear Vision Institute. Please subscribe to this channel if you care at all about your eyeballs. And I don't just mean your eyeballs, but your overall sense of vision. And today we will talk a little bit about eyeballs in terms of muscles, because a lot of times we are told in order to improve, first of all, we're told you can't improve your eyesight. That's what most people think. And if you think you can improve your eyesight, it's all about training those weak eye muscles. So I want to talk a lot about today why tight muscles make vision blurrier, and that it's actually a problem of tight muscles and not of weak muscles. While technically tight muscles are weak muscles. So why trying harder to see makes your vision worse? I just gave a talk to another group and we all did this. Let's all try this together, the stare test. So we will try really hard, look at the screen, make a huge effort, like as if you can grab that screen with your eyes and don't blink and just stare really hard. And that's what a lot of people do. And I immediately, my eyes feel really strained and my eyes feel dry. So a lot of times people are thinking it's looking harder, focusing harder, making an effort is the solution. And that's kind of interesting because vision is the only sense we try to force. We don't try to like, let's force my taste buds to taste this, whatever delicious meal we're eating, or we're not trying to hear harder. Let me just, I have to hear, I have to really make an effort to hear. We really, when with vision, we squint, we strain, we stare, we concentrate, which is really a form of strain. And I'm not talking about the flow state, but that like concentrating with effort, where you kind of see those wrinkles above the eyebrow or the two eyebrows coming together. So the strain cycle is, it starts usually, there's some kind of blur. You try harder to see clearly. So maybe you're squinting or you're doing something else, you're tilting your head or something else, some kind of tension. The eye muscles will get more tense. You engage your sympathetic nervous system because you get now into a stress response. Oh my God, I can't see this. I have to try. Blood flow decreases, right? We have more cortisol levels rise up. Vision gets even blurrier, and then we get more into a stress response. So it's this vicious cycle. If you've ever tried to read small print, back in the day, we had phone books. We had to be like, oh, give me that phone number. It was an emergency. Like everything is a blur, right? So working harder is not the solution. People with perfect vision always allow their vision to happen through relaxed awareness, movement, and also a sense of trust that my eyes are there for me and they support me. So I have a lot of scientific articles that I can link in the YouTube underneath. I will do that. But basically, let's talk a little bit about the connection between what's called visual accommodation, like how you can focus on different distances, and cervical muscle activity. So cervical muscles are the muscles in the upper neck, right? It's like the cervical spine, the upper neck and back. And basically, they found that visual effort, when you try really hard to see, creates a contraction of the ciliary muscle around your lens, but also increases tension in the muscles of the cervical and scapular regions. In other words, the shoulders, the neck, you create tension. You kind of get also that forward head posture. Today, I was at the pharmacy and I watched a woman, fill my mother's prescription, and she was like doing this, like trying to look at the computer. And I'm like, I immediately noticed, are you wearing progressive lenses? And she said, yes. And I said, she was so tense, but she said, oh, that's my normal state. I don't even notice it anymore, right? So that was a study done in the Journal of Functional Morphology and Kinesiology in 25. I will link all these studies. We also have a connection of myopia and muscle tension connection. So myopia is nearsightedness. That means when you see better up close and worse in the distance. We have an epidemic of myopia going on. Children at a higher and higher rate are getting nearsighted. In Singapore, over 93% of children, young adults are nearsighted. It's a huge issue that we didn't have in the 60s and 70s. Very few people were nearsighted back then. So they found that there's a connection between the myopia group, and they had another control group, which they had a higher resting muscle tension. So what does that mean? When the muscle is at rest, there's already more tension. So there's more contraction in your muscles when you think you're relaxed. So it's almost like when you think people have like, they can't even fully relax their muscle. There was also higher muscle tenderness and the eyes and that relationship to the jaw muscle, the mandibular. I don't want to use all the masticatory, but it's the jaw muscle and the cervical muscle. So again, a lot of connection, especially with nearsightedness. A lot of times you see nearsighted people in the car and they're inching their head forward as if that 1 inch of the head forward is making any difference in how sharp you see 20, 30, 40 feet away, right? So it's that our vision is a receptive sense in the back of our head is the visual cortex. So light enters our retina just like sound enters our ears, and starting to learn to relax and letting the eyes, the light and the information come to you versus you trying to grab it. Um, and that study was done in Nature, actually. Again, I'm linking all these studies. There's another study done by the American Institute of Stress in 2022 that is how stress affects your vision. So we know when we are stressed, when we're in that sympathetic nervous system state, that cortisol goes up. It's released by the body as a reaction to stress. And it's also increasing your heart rate, your respiration, your blood pressure, right? All these things go up. Your vision actually becomes more tunnel vision. Your pupils dilate a little bit. But it also is basically creates a disruption of the blood flow from the eyes to the brain. So the eyes are actually part of the brain, technically, the retina, but there's a decrease of blood flow. And so basically, you got more vision problems, more blurry vision. So I had a client, she had done vision therapy. She was very farsighted, and she was at the point where she couldn't read at all. She couldn't read a book for not for even for 1 minute after 1 year of vision therapy with a behavioral optometrist. And then I work with her, and my work is we're always starting with nervous system regulation as a foundation before we get into what you would call more exercises that are training the brain and the eyes a little bit more. And after doing that program, she said, I can now read for 20 minutes. So because she was in such, she said, I never understood the connection to cortisol and all these tension causing problems, like why there was so much tension in her body. So another blink rate and tear film. So this is not so much directly about tension or tight muscles, but we know there were studies in the 90s and there are studies from the 2010s looking at, and this first study was done in the Optometry and Vision Science journal, and it was called the effect of visual display unit use on blink rate and tear stability. So they found that when people look at screens or work on screens or look at phones, any kind of screen, that there's a fivefold drop in blink rate compared to normal use, right? So basically, from about 18 blinks per minute, it went down to 3.6 blinks per minute. If you have ever tried, like we did in the beginning, not to blink, and we can try this again, not blink, think of only 3 times per minute. I can't even do it anymore. I used to be very good at this when I wore glasses. I used to be good at staring and not blinking. Everybody with perfect vision, you will see them blink a lot naturally. That lubricates the eyes and it basically relaxes the whole eyes. It lubricates them. It's a little micro blink, a break in your visual sense. And according to Andrew Huberman in one of his podcast episodes, he talked about how it slows down the perception of time. And I don't know about you, but I like slowing down the perception of time without taking drugs, which are not good for vision, obviously. So that's really interesting when we when we use screens, put a sticker on your computer, remind yourself to blink because the relax, and not like the hard blink. I sometimes say people are blinking as if you shut down a garage door. Relax your eyes, like I talk about butterfly blinking, so easy blinking. And if you don't do that, a lot of times people with glasses have a hard stare. They don't blink, they have this hard stare as if they see a deer in the headlights. So that's super important. That's a form of tension that a lot of people don't even notice because it's their normal state. So another study was done that is called ocular accommodation, intraocular pressure, development of myopia and glaucoma, role of the ciliary muscle, choroid, and metabolism. That's a whole mouthful. The finding of this study was, and there was multiple authors on this, was that long-term stress on the ciliary muscle. The ciliary muscle is basically the muscle that's responsible for moving the lens. And let's back up a little bit. So the lens is relaxed, the ciliary muscle is slack when we look far in the distance. When we look up close, the ciliary muscle tightens and the lens gets more bulgy. So think of like flexing your biceps. And so basically the long-term stress on the ciliary muscle from sustained near focusing may initiate myopia growth in children, and it also could be related to primary open angle glaucoma in presbyopic adults. In other words, open angle, so I don't have my eyeball here right now, but there's the angle of your iris to the cornea, to the inner cornea, and a narrow angle glaucoma, there's not enough, it's very tight, and the fluids in the eyes can't drain. Open angle glaucoma is usually not a problem of the structure of the eyes, but basically it increases the pressure in presbyopic adults, meaning people that have reading glasses, that have trouble looking up close. They found a correlation to that extreme long use of near point activity. So we know that we shouldn't be looking at the near point all the time. I always give this example, like instead of the catchy 20-20-20 rule that optometrists love to talk about, which means every 20 minutes, look 20 seconds in the distance, 20 feet away. I personally think I wouldn't, I don't know who sets a timer every 20 minutes and then 20 seconds and then repeats that all day when they work on screens. I say put the computer at a window, makes it easy to look out. Half the room like me right now. I'm in Europe. It's like past 8 p.m. It's really dark right now. I have the room kind of well lit, which is not good for the circadian rhythm. But when you work late, maybe have more orange light, but don't sit in a dark room with just the computer screen on, right? You will basically create the pupils will dilate. It will be worse, and you focus even more on that ciliary effect versus noticing the relaxing room around you. So that's definitely important. Our eyes need to move, not just side to side and be relaxed, but we need to also have that mobility to move near and far. Also a big deal for cataracts, right? So I always say it's like looking up close for hours and hours and hours. It's like carrying a big weight and, flexing your biceps all day long. And then you're like, oh, why is my arm not moving? Why can I not have movement in my eyes and adjust to different distances? Um, Another big piece in different studies is astigmatism and muscle pressure. So astigmatism is basically a so-called a refractive error that is related to in most cases to the cornea not being dome-shaped and perfectly shaped, but more like an American football. Yay to the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. But basically, like there's a flatter and a steeper curve in your cornea. The flatter curve is what you would see in the axis in your prescription. And the strength of how strong the astigmatism is measured in diopters. So long story short, there's different focal points. And they found that we know that astigmatism, which again is a corneal, in most cases, not a lens, but a corneal issue of the cornea not being this perfect sliver. Like if I were to cut off this little sliver of the eyeball here, right? So here it's like a perfect dome shape. But in astigmatic cornea, if your eye muscles are tense and maybe different tension, that will affect the shape of the cornea, right? As you can see. So they found eyelid pressure. If you have eyelids and they're pressing really hard, guess what? That affects the corneal shape, right? Also, the extraocular muscles, what I just pointed out, the muscles around the eyeball, this is just four. We actually have six. We have two more, one on top, on the bottom, obliques. But if these muscles, if you like, for instance, always focus inside, like on near close-up things, some of these muscles will be more tense because they get engaged all the times, and other muscles might be more slack. And again, if the muscles have an unequal tension, that will affect the cornea because this is one unit and it's a soft tissue. So the eyelid pressure and also even the pupil size has an effect on the astigmatism. So another thing about astigmatism that is not mentioned in this study was the research from Elliot Forrest, an optometrist. He found a so-called functional optometrist astigmatism, sorry, functional astigmatism related to posture. And I spoke about the pharmacist earlier today. So she was doing this the whole time because she was looking through the lower part of her multifocal lenses because the computer was straight in front of her. So she made this weird posture. And he found a correlation that she probably has an axis of 135-45 due to this torsion of her head, and the eyes now have to look down. So there is a relationship to your posture of your head, your eye movements, we can move our eyes in our socket without moving our head, which is great. But if we habitually just move the eyes, like let's say this way, or here's a pair of reading glasses, I'm at a friend's house, and you have reading glasses and you put them here, and now you always move your eyes vertically up and down, guess what? You will have an axis of 90 degrees. Or if you do the side-by-side one all the time, you have all these monitors, you're not moving your head. There's a correlation to a functional astigmatism in 85% of cases, where that astigmatism is correlated to how you move your head. If people have a head tilt, so they looked at, and Norwegian researchers looked at orchestra musicians, and a violinist always has a tilt in their head. Or if you're playing a harp, we had somebody in my program who plays a harp, so they have a kind of tilted position. Or you're playing in the orchestra and you're always on the left side, you're sharing a music stand with somebody else, you're always on the left. So your left eye will always be further away from the music stand. Guess what? That eye will develop the stronger astigmatism due to the different muscle use. So we now know that astigmatism especially is a very functional case. The eyelid pressure, the extraocular muscles have an impact on the creation and the strength of the astigmatism in most cases. So this is basically it about the study. So I want to kind of summarize this. People with perfect vision usually always blink a lot. They blink 15 to 20 times per minute. They allow relaxed attention. The eyes are moving along with what interests the brain, rather than like, let me really try hard to see these things. They always move their eyes and their head and their body in a like fluid motion. I always talk about moving my attention. If I see something up there, I'm not going to be like, what? I'm going to move my whole head and my body because we have the best vision in the center. So moving, not like a robot, but moving in a fluid way. People with perfect vision take a lot of visual micro breaks, like blinking more, and they don't really think about it. It's more like an embedded like thing. I interviewed many people with perfect vision, like, what is your secret? And they couldn't tell me, but I observed all these things, observing these people with good vision. They do these things. It's like I call them natural key vision habits that these people automatically employ. And when you start wearing glasses and you have the distortion and the correction with the glasses, and you don't actually engage your own visual sense, you kind of lose that ability. It's like, what do you call it? Like, don't lose it, use it. No, don't use it, lose it. It's definitely like we need to keep our eyes and our brain where we actually see always engaged and in motion. And training the brain is so important for visual sense as well. They also never squint. People don't really, they might move closer or further away to see something, but they don't do this squinting, this effort. So here's some things to do. First one, do the stare test. If you notice that your like vision is blurry, make it worse by staring really hard. We did this a couple of times today, right? You can try to set a timer for 1 minute, count your blinks, and actually you observed gamers, people that play video games. And one guy, I literally put the timer on. It was like 70 seconds between blinks, over a minute. And if I would have asked him, hey, can you not blink for 70 seconds? He probably wouldn't have done it. But he was so focused on this game. And that is a huge problem for your vision. So another tip that I can do, I call that the eyebrow lift or the brow lift. So when you tend to squint, you kind of compress everything. So think of lifting your eyebrows like, that's amazing. So lifting the eyebrows, you don't have to do the facial or the sounds. Lifting the eyebrows is a kind of a counter, like every time you catch yourself squinting, lift your eyebrows. It might actually clear things up, and it's a great way to train yourself not to get into the squinting habit. And the last tip I want to give today, actually the one more after this, with presbyopia, which is the problem of reading small print, I teach something called read between the lines. Instead of focusing on the black text, look at the white spaces in between the lines. They actually relax your eyes and then move your attention around. You can hold it close, in a blurry, very close, not make any effort to read it. You can hold it at reading distance, but you can actually hold the text upside down initially so that you're really just moving as if you're reading the white spaces, as if you're underlying them. And that will relax you so much that all of a sudden things might get really sharp because you weren't trying to see. You were just relaxed, attending the text, like paying it, like looking at the things, but not making an effort to read it. And that's so powerful to do these things. And then the last thing I can teach you is like, that was the very first thing I ever learned in vision improvement in a book I bought in 1978. It was yawning. And I was like, yawning? Why would I yawn to improve my vision? Where's the exercise, right? I was thinking that way back then too. And yawning is like, if you can yawn right now, it's a great way to relax the whole body. You stretch the jaw, which is often tight. Remember that the studies I mentioned earlier, the muscles in the jaw often get tight. It lubricates the eyes, and it's just a really great reset. So instead of thinking, oh my God, I have to cover it up, it's impolite. Yawning is every animal. If you've ever seen an animal, a dog or a cat, they will always yawn. They just drop that tension. They kind of, so it's not impolite. I recommend yawn all you want. You can tell the speaker beforehand, I'm not bored by your talk. I'm just relaxing myself and helping my eyes relax. So that's it for today's episode. Here, the truth I want you to know, there's nothing wrong with eye exercises, but you need to start from a not trying, making an effort place. Sometimes what I call befriending the blur, allowing your eyes, just like a camera. If you've ever used a camera with autofocus, how it's sometimes like, zzz, and it takes a little moment to kind of fully adjust. Give your eyes that time to adjust instead of, oh, I can't see anything, put the glasses on, right? So if you notice what the pharmacist, notice that you're doing this, that you have all these weird head postures. If you have children, tell your children, hey, tell mom or dad when I'm doing this, and they will be on you like, mom, stop doing that again. I can tell from experience. The kids will be the best. If you have nobody else, maybe once in a while notice, oh, I'm just put little stickers around when you notice those things at the computer. Drop your shoulders, like bring them up and drop them. Like write yourself little reminders, like move my head, get rid of your progressive glasses. That's another talk. Those things will be really helpful. I would love to invite you to a free course that I'm doing. It's called See Better in Just 4 Days. We're doing it one last time with live coaching every single day. You get short little videos. They're literally 2 to 5 minutes long. The daily activities are no longer than 5 minutes. In fact, most of them are shorter. And you get those videos, and then every day I go live. I help you, I answer your questions. That starts on next Tuesday, February 17th, which is Tuesday after Labor Day. We go live every day at noon Pacific. The link is right there below. So please join me. You have nothing to lose but your blurry vision and your glasses. So this is a great way to get started with natural vision improvement and understanding what are the things that are actually, it's not just rolling your eyes in a circle, or you might think of like pencil push-ups or those things. Again, nothing wrong with that, but it's not how we use our eyes in daily life. I'm all about teaching you how to use your eyes well in daily life. And that's how I got out of glasses myself. And I help tens of thousands of people do the same, improve their eyes, get out of glasses or get into weaker glasses, avoid eye diseases, or even in some cases, improve the health of their eyes, even though they already had eye diseases. So it's so important. Think about to yourself, how important is my vision? And you might think when you're young, it doesn't matter. I tell you, whatever you do when you're young has big ripple effects when you're older. It's the best time to start is when you're in your 20s. But if you're already in your 60s like me, it's never too late to make improvements and learn things that will help you see well into old age. So that's me today signing off. Please subscribe to my channel, sign up for the free course starting next Tuesday. See Better in Just 4 Days. This is your last chance of getting this for free with live coaching. So I hope to see you there. And I don't see any questions on YouTube, so I see you next. I see you next week. Actually, next week we will have the free training. I will be back on YouTube for Clear Vision Wednesday the week after that. So thank you. Subscribe and click the little bell icon. You really help us spread the word. Share this channel with everybody that you know, because a lot of people have no idea how much control they have over their eyesight. They think it's all genetics or aging, which of course play a role, but you have so much more impact on how well you see. And one last thing I want to say, I attended my mom's 90th birthday the week before last, and the difference in how people in the 80s and 90s, it's insane. The sharpness, the like how well they hear, how well they see, how well they converse. It makes all the difference to take care of your eyes and your health now and not wait until you're old and you can't hear and you can't see. Please, please take care of your eyes. All right, that's enough of my talk today. So share this with everybody, and I see you in 2 weeks on